Hello and welcome to another Movie Monday. Um, so last week we watched Doctor Strange, which is part of the MCU, but prior to the MCU, well, not really prior, there's also some Marvel movies that are done by Paramount, right?
Columbia.
Columbia.
Oh, Columbia.
Oops. There are some movies that are also done by Columbia, that such as Venom and also Spider-Man, of which this was Spider-Man before Tom Holland. And I had originally seen this movie in theaters. I didn't quite know well, more accurately, I don't really remember much of the film, at least prior to watching it just now. But so I didn't really know what my opinion was, so we watched it, and what do you guys think?
Can I just say, like, right off the bat that this kind of played out like a horror movie? Am
Yeah,
I alone in thinking that, or?
no, I think the music didn't help because when you hear like the background music, you think that it's like a mystery, like thriller kind of thing
Yeah, I
that's
got more of
happening.
like a mystery vibe, bro, especially like the first like half,
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially in regards to like Peter's parents, which
which didn't do anything.
no.
Like I again, we've seen like various reviews of these movies, so like even I knew about the thing with like that his parents are involved with this and how people don't like that usually, but like I'm not against the idea of it, but I'm like it didn't do anything. So
Yeah.
No.
from what I know,
Like,
it does matter in the second one, but still, it's like, well, then I don't know, whatever.
I guess the thing is too is that the only real plot related thing that happened is it was the reason why he got bitten by the spider, I guess, because he decided to go to Oscorp to like talk to the guy and everything.
I guess, but I don't know. It just for how it was presented at the beginning of the movie, it seemed like it should have been way more important than way
I
more
agree.
involved than it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I I agree with that. There is, in the end, a lot of plot threads also weren't really resolved because he never did find Uncle Ben's killer.
Right? Yeah,
Mm.
that's just dropped completely.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's dropped completely. They even show the poster again at the end of the movie, and it's like, oh yeah, that was kind of the plot for like the first half of the movie.
Yeah, it seems like once like the guy turns himself into the lizard, it's like it seems like the plot just like completely shifts into like that now, when like it
Yeah,
wasn't that at all.
no, like
So
the three plots, like in the very beginning, it was Peter just trying to figure out his parents, which, like, where they are and if they're alive and stuff like that, of which, if it wasn't a Spider-Man movie, then that's like an interesting plot, I guess. But going into it as a Spider-Man movie, you're kind of like, especially after the Sam Raimi films, it's like, huh?
I feel like in general, like, is it just that Spider-Man's parents aren't really talked about? Like, you don't really know much about Mr. and Mrs. Parker?
yeah, I mean,
Is
we'll see.
that just
That's kind of a thing where like, okay, well, since they're not really known, that means you can kind of do whatever you want with it if you want to go
Hmm,
that route, right? So I get. So that's why I'm saying like I'm not opposed to the idea, but it just
yeah.
didn't do anything with it. So
yeah. Like
yeah,
you have to work a little bit harder to get people to care, I guess,
yeah,
I
is what
guess,
I'm getting at.
I guess the thing is that, too, if that was the single plot of this movie, like his origin story, Uncle Ben finding Uncle Ben's killer, and then figuring out what happened to his parents, that could have been and if they did something interesting with his parents, that could be interesting and such, because usually it goes to like a humongous villain and something, and it looks like in the mid-credit scene they showed the man in the shadows, and instead of like the really crazy green goblin that we got in the first movie for the Sam Raimi thing, it could have been like this guy who was in the shadows and stuff like that. But instead, it, as we said before, kind of just shifted to the lizard guy.
I think literally his name is just the lizard, which is kind of lame, but yeah. So yeah, like because everyone says that the sequel to this has like a billion plot threads that are all over the place and are kind of a mess, but like it wasn't as bad as I assume it will be there, but it's still kind of true here too.
Yeah.
So yeah. And because again, like I was thinking, when literally I had this thought when he is like getting that guy who was gonna like steal the car, right? And that's like decently far into the movie. I was sort of like had this realization of like we have no like villain at all like at this point in the movie, and so I was like okay, but then I'm like, well, wait a minute, the lizard thing. But I'm like, how does the lizard like come in and involve itself with this plot? And the answer is it doesn't. It just starts a new plot, and it's like, oh,
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and then so once we finished, like, why you were saying like, oh, that was so long or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's not that long.
How long is it?
It's like 2 hours and like 10 minutes.
Why did it feel so
I
long?
No, I don't know. Like I felt the same way. I was just like, this is really long, but it's not.
I felt like we were watching it for like 2.5 or 3 hours.
This was like about the same length as Doctor Strange.
Oh my god.
Doctor Strange felt like
it's appropriate length.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit longer, but like 5-10 minutes maybe. Like it's not. Yeah, it's close. So. Yeah, because like that's the thing. I'm just trying to think. I there were several times where I was just like, oh my god, this is like taking a long time for things to happen, but it's not super long. Yeah, it's weird. So
I guess now we know that the writing was not super great or polished.
No, I mean it's
they
not
dropped
terrible.
An entire plot point.
Yeah, I like as of now, again, like I think the general consensus was like after this first one, it's not like people were like immediately like shitting on it completely, right? So, like,
yeah.
I don't think it's horrible, but it's definitely... The fact that the second one turned out to be a mess, like, doesn't surprise me. Now that I've seen this, basically.
There were signs of it in this movie itself.
Yeah.
It's weird to say that I think you could follow the plots much better in the Sam Raimi films.
I mean, from what I remember, and again, it's been a while, like, the Sam Raimi films, the pacing was a little weird there, too. But... it wasn't this like slow, so yeah.
It was weird in a different way, because I guess the thing with the Sam Raimi films is that there's a lot more whiplash. Here it's just kind of dull.
Yeah, because at least with the Sam Raimi stuff, and I know that I usually don't like to use this defense in terms of like, oh, the movie's actually like good because blah, but like. It is just, like, weirder. The older stuff is weirder. There's more, like, what the fuck factor to stuff. Like, the only times that I legitimately was like, okay, this is, like, kind of, like, weird, but, like, funny, weird, and good, was the times when, like, early on, when he's just, like, fucking around with his powers, like, messing shit up all the time. Like, the whole thing in, like, the train car.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then the thing actually that I thought was the funniest was the basketball thing. Because it was so dumb and out of nowhere. And I'm like, okay, this is like actually funny. But like after that though, it just kind of that never really happened again. And it was just like, okay. And again, it's not like I can't point to any singular thing and be like, that is bad. But I just didn't really care. And yeah, and it dragged. And also I think it does kind of, it's interesting to compare this again to not just the Sam Raimi films, but also the MCU films, because I'm just thinking, like, man, Tom Holland really is the only one who actually looks like a high school student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, because Tom Holland's like 22, 23, so like he does still look like, I don't know, like 5 years younger or whatever. But like Andrew Garfield in this, he looks like he's like 25. And
yeah.
And I looked it up. Guess how old he was when this movie was released?
Oh no. Was he 25?
He was 29.
I know he was in Social Network, but damn.
So yeah, like so it's like, okay, he does look, I guess, like Tom Holland. He looks 5 years younger than he is, but like he's almost 30. So like, come on. Yeah, so that was a little distracting, and like, I don't know. I've heard like some people in terms of the thing with Gwen Stacy that like I've heard some people like praise it in terms of like their interaction. I've heard other people say it's like annoying. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like kind of right in the middle where like,
Yeah, I
I don't
didn't
know.
hate their interactions. I found them kind of awkward because it's kind of like
They're
I love
incredibly
being on a
awkward.
couple.
Yeah, it's like feeling like the third wheel.
Well, because to me, it's like I kind of like the kind of adorable like awkward stuff that can happen, but it was like this was like too awkward. Like,
Yeah.
you need to be not that awkward. I don't know. It's just okay.
I mean, I like Gwen Stacy more than Sam Raimi's Mary Jane.
That's not
at
hard
least.
to do, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. At least
Like,
she does.
actually did.
Yeah, she actually does things, so that's something.
Yeah, that said, I like Gwen Stacy and Into the Spider-Verse more.
Oh yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Easily the superior Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I just kind of came away from this being like that was a movie, and I didn't hate it, but like I had
I
no.
feel super lukewarm.
Yeah.
I think I see why I didn't remember that much. Which is weird, because it's like, it's a superhero movie, so you're like, you should remember something about it.
Yeah. Because again, like all the stuff that they introduced that was like kind of different, they just didn't really do too much with it, right? So like again, the stuff with the parents, that's one thing, but then also like the fact that Spider-Man, he gets into this like from like a revenge mentality, and I've heard people like say that they don't like that's like against the character, but like again, I'm not opposed to that in terms of a new direction. It's definitely different. So if they do something interesting with that, again, the whole thing about like finding the killer or whatever, like, and going into that, and maybe this falls down a rabbit hole with that, like, okay, that could be an interesting plot device, but again, that just stops. So
They just drop it
yeah,
in the middle of the movie.
yeah,
Maybe the middle of the movie. I don't know anymore.
From what I've heard too, with the second movie, it never gets picked up again, either.
yeah. And then okay, the whole like thing where with Uncle Ben dying in this, the whole scenario felt like super contrived.
Yeah.
So
We didn't need
don't
Uncle
know.
Ben to die again.
No. I mean, we don't know how Uncle Ben died in the MCU, but at least in the Sam Raimi one, it didn't feel like it was contrived. It literally just felt like the progression. You can understand the progression of events and how he ended up dying.
yeah,
Yeah.
And then in Into the Spider-Verse, like the death there also makes sense too.
Uncle
And it's-
Aaron.
And it's impactful. Here it's like you don't really get to know Uncle Ben too much. You kind of
Right.
just know his bowling trophies, I guess.
He had so much potential, man.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's like I don't. I guess what I said before, where it's like it existed and it was it was acceptable. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really point to any singular thing and be like that was bad, but like.
Is there anything that was good? I guess that we can pinpoint.
Besides the basketball scene.
Basketball scene was pretty good. I like the shots like where it shows like everyone else's reaction to when he's jumping too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
The camera for when he's like swinging around is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt it was like just kind of fine. I don't know.
Like halfway, maybe halfway through the movie, I was like, man, I kind of want to watch Homecoming again.
That is
Or
actually
Spider-Verse again.
yeah. Actually, if I remember correctly, besides, well, Doctor Strange that we just watched last week, I think Homecoming is the only other MCU film I've seen twice.
Oh, really?
I think so. Because I saw it on the plane.
Oh yeah, right.
And because I have heard people say that, like, you know, the Marvel stuff is good for like a first time viewing, but a second time it's like not as good. But I'm like, no, I still enjoyed Homecoming quite a lot. So yeah, I don't know. It's just the characterization works better, the pacing works better. I guess Andrew Garfield, like, I don't know what it was, but for some reason, like, he just felt just a little off, like, all the time, and I don't know what it was.
No, I agree. It seemed like there was, like, I don't know if it was his line delivery.
Yeah, I don't know
something.
what it was. It was weird.
I mean, I was thinking of like how Cosmonaut Variety Hour was talking about how he has this forced New York accent, and I thought at first maybe that could have been it, but I felt like maybe he just, for some reason, wasn't comfortable in the role or something. That was the impression that I got.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe.
know. I mean, he's a 29-year-old guy.
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
a high school student. Maybe that's why.
I guess another thing too is that I feel like other than his relationship with Gwen, he didn't really have a solid, like, great relationship with any of the other people. Like, Uncle Ben, he was really sad about, and then he tried going for like a revenge plot, but then he drops it. Aunt May, he doesn't really say anything about, or
Doesn't
even.
Yeah.
Doesn't really acknowledge her existence.
No.
Like, she just lost her husband, you know.
And then, I don't know. It was a movie.
Yeah.
I guess, do we rate the movie?
I guess.
This feels very anticlimactic, but...
I mean, that's kind of how the movie felt, though.
Yeah, like, again, I'd say that, like, at first I was like, okay, I'm down with this, potentially, but then it just kind of kept going, and stuff just kept not being added to be interesting, and it was just like, okay, I guess I'm done with this now. I don't know. Well, I don't know. My take for, again, if it's like, when I say it is a movie, it's like, that to me, that's like kind of true neutral, so I guess I'm gonna give it a 5.
I think I'm gonna give it a 5 too.
Yeah, 5.
Like, slightly higher
Yeah,
5? I don't know.
sad.
Yeah, it's like...
Kind of like a middle, low 5, because it's at some points I was just like, man, I would rather be watching a different version of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how exciting.
The not-so-amazing Spider-Man.
He's not a fraud yet, but he's underwhelming.
He'll be a fraud soon.
Okay.
I guess you heard it here. I'm sure this doesn't come as a surprise to anyone, but you can watch any of the other Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yep. Well, speaking of watching other things, what do you replace this with?
So I decided to replace this with the movie that I actually really enjoyed, and I watched it last year, which is Coco.
Yay! I anticipate that I will cry a lot. So
I haven't-
get ready.
Have you seen
Yeah.
it before?
I have not seen it.
Okay.
I do know something about it that I probably shouldn't know, but oh well.
We'll see what that is when we actually
Yeah.
watch it.
But yeah, it's definitely, it's something that was, you know, in the back of my mind that I should see that, and I just never did, so I guess now is the chance. Well, whenever it comes up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what will come up? Let's see. Our next
What will we get?
bounty. I have no idea.
I'm kind of worried.
Why?
Oh. Back to me. We're doing Snowpiercer.
Oh.
Interesting.
I was mostly
The
worried because,
connection.
you know, like, Brazil is on there and we don't know anything about Brazil, so I was like, I'm not ready to, like,
Oh.
potentially not like a movie.
Dylan, what do you think the connection between Amazing Spider-Man and Snowpiercer is?
Spider-Man is now in the MCU, and Chris Evans is in Snowpiercer.
Brilliant.
Captain America got a new job.
This is the alternate timeline where Captain America gets... Wait, oh, no, I got it. Okay, well...
Huh?
It's kind of... Well, okay, it's tech... I don't... Okay, whatever. So in Captain America, he gets frozen, right?
Yeah.
In Snowpiercer, the world gets frozen. So it's... so there you go. It's different.
I see.
It's
It's
like...
an alternate timeline where
Instead of
world-
Captain America gets frozen, everything else gets frozen.
Except Captain America?
Well, there's other humans. What you'll find out. But yeah, I'm curious what your reaction will be to this because again, I've seen this twice, I think.
Okay.
And it's I'm curious what you'll think about it. And there's also a very odd fan theory that I will share after we've seen it.
Okay.
That is one of those things where when you first hear it, you're like, this is a bunch of bullshit. But then when like you have someone explain it, you're like, wait, this makes sense. so that's something that's kind of fun. But yeah, guess you'll see that next week.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
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 I guess.
Yes, indeed.